Swazdula, stinky, floppy jellyfish. How the hell are ya? So, before the new year, I uploaded a video titled Content Drought, and I gave my 2 pennies on the whole matter and everything and whatnot. And despite it being a super contained video, actually, the topic is long from over, and it just has so many facets that we could literally make videos of it until the end of the year. But I'm not going to do that. But I did want to go ahead and add one more little piece of information. This video is going to be about my idea for perhaps something that we could call True EndGame, or like dungeons or whatever. Now, before I even get into the video, I know this is another real voice video. For those of you who want real voice videos, well, rejoice, for I am nigh. No, and for those of you who are missing the Cephalon voice, do not worry, the Cephalon will remain the star of the show. I was actually going to do a how to not be shit today, or perhaps a verdict video, but I just came back from watching Life of Rio's newest video that was uploaded like 11 hours ago, where he discusses the topic of DE asking us what they should do this year, what they should focus on, all that stuff. And Mad Lad was kind of triggered. I can't blame him, because even I got a little triggered from that entire discussion, but that's okay, that's a different story. So anyways, I'm motivated as fuck to go ahead and do this video instead. But worry not, like I said, Cephalon voice is not gone. He is coming back. Don't worry. Okay. So also what I want to point out is, I'm not saying that this idea of mine here is going to fix everything about the game. No, not at all. I've just been talking to a lot of people, been talking to a lot of clan members, people from the Ashisogi community, been talking to like Volt and Reaper, and we came up with some ideas here and there, juggled a couple things around, and I think I have a rough idea of what all of these ideas combined would look like. And so here's my idea, okay? So then, let's fire up our recording software right quick. Now, we're going to use arbitrations as a template, okay? Don't worry about the name giving and all of that and yada yada, but let's just look at arbitrations, okay? Arbitrations are DE's version of, I guess, True EndGame. It was supposed to be meant for veterans, it was supposed to be meant for super advanced players to have something to do with decent rewards and decent challenge and yada yada. Well, we all know how that ended. So you can find the arbitrations, in case you're really new and you've never heard of this, up here on your alert section, right? And the first mission up here will always be an arbitration. It resets after, I think it's an hour or whatever. What it does is it gives you enemy levels of 60 to 80, right? So a little bit higher than your usual star chart peasants. It gives you a random Warframe with a strength bonus and a random weapon with a damage bonus, okay? I don't know if you increase the enemy level and make it hard, but at the same time, you give us the ability to have 300% extra damage and strength on Warframes and weapons. Okay, whatever. Whatever. But that's not what we're talking about, though. So, in order to unlock this, you actually have to complete every single mission of every single planet. Everything you see here, which is 230, roughly 230 missions, you have to complete every single one of them, okay? You have to complete the entire star chart, and then you can unlock the arbitrations. And funny enough, the arbitrations are pretty well, boring. I'm not gonna say that they're shit, but they're kind of boring. First off, this enemy level is not difficult. Second of all, you get these buffs here which kind of nullify the enemy level from the get-go. You only have 1 life in here, so if you die once, you're out, right? And on top of that, the rewards that you get here are, I'm gonna say meh, to say the least, okay? So that's my first problem with this thing here. So the first order of business is what I would like to do is perhaps pretend that this is not an arbitration, but it is the so-called special endgame mission that I'm about to pitch, right? And it's not going to be named arbitration, it's going to be named dungeon. Just a placeholder, okay? Don't quote me on that. Let's just call it a dungeon, okay? For argument's sake, right? So the first order of business, what I would do is, instead of locking this special mission behind completing all of these goddamn missions, which is kind of dumb if you think about it, because that's nothing special, completing all the missions. It really isn't, it's not really an accomplishment. Plus, you force players to repeat the same 7-ish mission types that we have 50 times each or so. To get through here. Well, not quite 50 times, but you know what I'm saying, right? So what I would change is maybe lock it behind a mastery rank, perhaps 18, maybe, or maybe 20 or so. The reason why I would do this is doing all of this here is tedious. It's tedious and it's boring and it's too easy and it's just entirely not rewarding to finish all the missions. However, reaching mastery 18, that's pretty achievable. You know, you can get there, right? And again, these are just ideas. I'm not saying that 18 has to be the golden number, or 20, mastery 20, right? It could be 16 too. But if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the highest tier weapons that you can get that are locked behind a mastery rank is mastery rank 14. I could be wrong, but basically if you reach whatever tier that is or whatever mastery that is, let's say 14, right? After that, there's really no reason for you to continue going up in mastery rank. There's just no reason. There's no motivation, there's no incentive. You get a couple of perks here or there, here and there, but they're not really worth it, right? So screw that. And having to unlock the so-called veteran mode or whatever, or dungeon as we named it, right, would mean that you have to go further than 14. So you'd have that incentive, okay? But that's just an idea. I would find that a lot more pleasant than having to do every single stupid mission on the start chart, right? Okay, so what about the mission? How is the mission itself going to look? Well, here's my idea. You unlock this dungeon mission by reaching mastery rank, let's say 18, right? After that, you're qualified for it, regardless of your start chart progress, right? After that, you're qualified to do the dungeon mission. You go into the dungeon mission, and it's not extra difficulty or anything like that. I mean, it could start at like 60 just to speed things up, because enemy levels under 100 are kind of boring. But yeah, the enemy level that could start at any point. But you spawn into the mission blind. Totally randomized loadout. Now think about it for a second. Veterans, or even from the last content drought video I saw in the comment section, there are a lot of mastery rank 12s, mastery rank 15s, people who dropped their comments that said, dude, I'm not even a veteran of your status yet, and I feel this content drought thing. I feel that I don't have anything to do, that there's no challenge, right? Which is pretty sad. I think the lowest mastery rank that I saw was like mastery 8 that had the same feelings about it, right? I mean, come on, man, really? You know? So what is challenge? That's the problem in Warframe. What is actually a challenge? What does promote skill? What does sufficiently test your ability to play the game? Well, it's being able to adapt to any situation, right? We could argue that that's probably a very valuable point to measure someone's skill, right? Or to test your own skill, to challenge a player. Okay. We know that it's not increasing the enemy levels. I'm sorry, that's just not enough. Especially with the enemy scaling in Warframe that's broken as fuck. But that's a different story. So what I would like to see is that when you click on the mission, on the dungeon mission, you spawn into the mission with a totally randomized loadout. It would have to be restricted to things that you actually have, and it would be restricted to the way you actually modded your shit. Which is another reason why I would lock it behind a mastery rank of maybe 18 or 20, because at that point, you have a pretty large variety of things. You have a decent amount of weapons, you have a decent amount of warframes, because that's where you get your XP from for mastery rank, right? So the random generator in the game would go ahead and randomly select your entire loadout based off of what you have and how you modded it, right? And then drop you into the mission. So you'll load in, you'll spawn in with I don't know, let's say Atlas, because I happen to have him equipped right now, right? You would be spawn in with, let's say, a fucking Tigris and maybe a, I don't know, Aclato or something like that, and Myos or whatever, right? But with your build on it, right? So already you're up for a surprise. You're up against fairly difficult enemies, but you spawn in and you don't know what you have, so you have to adapt to the situation as well as possible. Imagine you would spawn in with a Banshee, for example. That would already, I think that would be really, really, really interesting, but wait, there's more. Let's use survival as an example, okay? Instead of dropping some drop, some reward or whatever every 5 minutes, increase it to every 10 minutes, okay? So it's like sections, like dungeons, so to speak. The enemies will be at level X, right? Level, let's say 80 or whatever. You're in there with your randomly generated Banshee and your random loadout, and you're fighting against enemies that are, you know, fairly tough, especially when you come in with a surprise, right? A surprise loadout. And after 10 minutes, you basically defeat that stage of the enemy level, right? They stay the same enemy level during the first 10 minutes, right? And after that, it kind of resets. Maybe it will respawn. It'll stop for a moment, kind of like it does with Fisher missions right now. Every time you unlock a Fisher, every 5 minutes, the game kind of pauses for a second, you choose a new relic, and you go in, right? Well, instead of pausing the game and choosing a new relic, it will pause and allow you to choose your reward at the 10-minute mark. The reward pool at the 10-minute mark, since it's the first milestone basically, would have to be, you know, fairly diverse and fairly not too great, because pretty much anybody can do 10 minutes, right? But you could choose your reward. A select few rewards will drop in there, and you can choose one of them. And then the game will continue on and reload your loadout. So again, for the minutes between 10 and 20, so for the next dungeon, so to speak, you would again have a random loadout, random Warframe, random weapons. So again, you have to adjust, you have to adapt to the situation. On top of that, the new enemies in the next dungeon, so to speak, will have an increased enemy level. All of a sudden, they will bump up like 20 levels or something like that, and it'll just really just drop you in the cold water and force you to adapt to the situation and make the best of what you have, right? And same goes for, of course, all the squad members, right? So there's no planning, you can't go in there and cheese it, you can't do anything, you have to adapt, okay? So that's the general principle of this idea that I'm having here. And as you progress through these 10-minute each dungeons, right, the reward pool shrinks and becomes more valuable. So for example, if you get to the point of, let's say, 1 hour mark, 60 minutes, 70 minutes, 80 minutes, and so on and so forth, the reward pool will get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So you will no longer have a selection of 10 rewards that you could choose which one is the most beneficial for you, but it will increase down to maybe just 3 or 2, and not just that, but they will also increase in value. So for example, in the first 10 minutes, one of the rewards could be, let's say, 500 endo. Just for example, okay, 500 endo is a bit harsh. Let's say maybe 500 kuva, just as an example, one of the rewards, right? And then later in the mission, let's say one reward could be a primed mod, for example, at the 1 hour mark, for example, right? Or it could be, I don't know, maybe an unranked arcane, 2 different ones that you could choose from, right? Or something like that. Much, much, much later, it could be, I don't know, anything really. It could be a unveiled ribbon, a guaranteed unveiled ribbon that you can choose from, right? Or a guaranteed max rank arcane, for example, right? Something like that, but it would have to be pretty deep into the dungeon. So generally, the idea is to drop Tennos in the cold water. It would give you incentive to get good at the game, because otherwise you're going to die. It would give you the challenge that we desperately need, because with a random loadout, you might load in with weapons and warframes that you're pretty trash with, but you're gonna have to get good. You're gonna have to adapt. You're gonna have to know what your squad mates are using. You're going to have to understand how their warframes are to support the entire team as you know, as effectively as you possibly can. right? And the rewards would be scaling. So I think that this type of mission would really help us put out a lot of fires. I'm not saying that this idea would fix Warframe. That's not what I'm saying. That would be ridiculous. But I am saying that that sort of a mission type could be a lot better than this arbitration nonsense that we have right now, or sanctuary onslaught nonsense that we have right now. All of those missions are fine and dandy, but they kinda suck. They kinda fail at what they were supposed to do. Sanctuary Onslaught was supposed to give a bit of a dungeon feeling. It's nothing. It's just the same as every other mission in the game, right? Arbitration was supposed to be a bit of a veteran playground, so to speak. It fails at that too because it's too damn easy, and oh come on man, the damn bots in arbitration, you blow them up and they kill every enemy under them anyway. What is that even? Okay, I don't even want to rant about that. I don't even want to go into that. I'm just saying that my dungeon idea might put out a couple of fires. It might be an interesting game mode. If DE would watch this video and they would consider something like that, that would be great. If they watch this video and they get some other ideas of which direction maybe to go to, that would also be great. In any case, regardless of what the outcome is, regardless of this video ever being seen by anyone of importance, I'd like to know your opinions, your additions. What would you change about this idea? Do you like the idea? Do you hate it? Let me know your opinion. And yeah, so that's all I wanted to say for this video. I'm gonna get back to making some other spicy videos for you guys, because like I said, this year is gonna be lit. So until then, take care of your damn self, stay healthy and safe, and also don't forget to like and subscribe to this shitty channel, and fuck off.